Okay, so here's the story. When do I start the story from? It's like, I'll make a Pinterest board called tattoos. Like, what's the harm in that? And then I just started reposting lots of things, and then I started thinking like, oh, hypothetically, if I got a tattoo, what would it be? And then you do like henna and stuff, and you're like, this is really cool. And then you start thinking about like placement and all these things, and you learn this terminology, and then you're like, how bad does it hurt? And you just start Googling. So like when an idea gets in your head, you just start Googling and learn about it. And then the idea of like a sun has always been kind of meaningful to me. Originally, I just imagined like, I knew I wanted it on my right ankle, which is weird. Like, I don't know why. I wanted it on the inside of my right ankle. If I like my first tattoo, I wanted it to be there. I like wrist tattoos, and I like tattoos that line like your elbow right here. So I was thinking like, oh, do a little circle with some lines, but then I was like, what color? I don't like that. And I was like, I love sun designs. Like, I love suns and like graphics of suns and stuff if they're like incorporated with something else, like if they're like behind a cloud or like above a mountain or something. But when it's just a sun by themselves, then I get all weird. It's like an optical illusion. Like, it looks like a circle that's just like, ta-da, it's a circle. So I was like set on that for a little while, but like I never really found any design that I actually liked the looks of. And it wasn't just the symbolism, it was like I want to like the way it looks. And I was like, what else has a similar meaning? I got to the idea of a sunflower. So that's kind of how that progressed. The most significant meaning to me, and like what I want this to primarily serve as, is like a reminder to like turn toward the light. Practice reckless optimism. I'm looking over there because I have a poster of that, which is what Hannah Hart says. I like that a lot because it's not just like be positive, it's like practice reckless optimism. It's so epic. Yeah, and I like to imagine that's kind of what sunflowers do, because they just turn toward the light without even having to think about it. It's just natural. And I want to work to a place where it's a natural thing, not to like ignore the darkness, but to not stare at it constantly, which is something that I do. Yeah, second meaning is sort of a more philosophical, a little more of a stretch, but still a meaning that is meaningful to me. So there's this like cave allegory of the cave, Plato's cave, and I read it in my freshman year. The basic idea that there's these guys in a cave and they're tied up and they see their shadows in front of them, but they don't see the light source, and so they think that's their whole world. And I honestly, even if I tried to get into it, I wouldn't be able to explain it with I wouldn't be able to give it justice. Basically, this idea that like no matter what you think you see, and you might be right about what you see and what you know, but it's not the whole story. And it's easy to just live in your own bubble, but there's value in turning toward the light, sort of seeking out that truth and like kind of moving away from your own ignorance and like being open-minded, I guess. Kind of on the same note is just like journalism has become a meaningful thing to me the last few years, being on like the school newspaper at my school. And so just the idea again of like seeking the truth, turning to the light, finding truths and getting to the bottom of things, even when it's work. And then there's other little things, like my parents called me Sunshine growing up. After I got the tattoo, I found out that it was my great grandma's favorite flower, and also my her sister, my Aunt Alpha's favorite flower. So I'll get now into the story of actually going to the shop. So we walk up into the shop and we're like, oh, this is real cool. We got referred by an extended family member of mine who did my senior pictures. We'd been corresponding with the artist like over email a few times just to kind of narrow the design down. So it was like narrowed down, but we still like had a couple things we wanted to like solidify and had to figure out once we were there. So we kind of like talked through some of the designs, and if there was like any little tweaks I wanted to make or like things I wanted to add or take away or whatever. There was like one little petal down here that was like going a direction that was bugging me, so we cut it out and we made the stem more curvy, and I'm so happy with the stem. Yeah, and then once we were solid with that and we did all the paperwork because I'm not 18 yet, we went back to the room, and all of her inks are vegan and organic. That was exciting. She kind of pointed out the color scheme of all of the like inks that she was going to use and all the pigments that she thought would look good together. She printed her design on this special fancy printer thing, and then you can like place it where you think you want it, and you like wet it. It's kind of like when you do like temporary tattoos, and then you kind of peel it off and then there's like this blue like outline. The first time she did it, it was like a little bit tilted, so I decided I wanted to see what it would look like if it was like very slightly clockwise, and I'm really happy that I did that because like I liked how it was, but it was like a little bit like this, and I was like I want it to be a little more parallel to my this part, my heel, Achilles heel, ankle, back of my leg. So we wiped off the template and she printed another template. When you're getting a tattoo, it's important to speak up about whether there's something you want to change or see, because it is going to be on your body forever. And then I lay down and I stuck my ankle like this and I was like, here, take it. Give me a tattoo. Yeah. So at first it didn't hurt at all. Like, it felt kind of cool, and I was like, what is this happening? Like, why do people think this is painful? Basically what it felt like is if you got, like, imagine that you got, like, a vibrating pen, and you just, like, kind of dragged it over your skin, like that. But then there's, like, a magnet, like, a few layers down in your skin that's, like, being dragged also underneath your skin. And it feels like it's being dragged. What's really happening is that the needles are, like, going in and out. They don't, like, inject ink, but they, like, stab you over and over again and leave the ink in there, basically. It didn't feel like I was actually getting punctured. Like, it didn't feel like the needles were actually going inside. It just felt like there was, like, this tiny, tiny, sharpish steel ball underneath the layers of my skin that was being dragged around with, like, a magnet. That's what it felt like. It was really weird. So she started with, like, the line work. So since it's, like, a color outline, she did the petals in like an orange outline and this in like a dark green, the stem in a dark green outline, and then she filled in all the lines with a lighter green down here and like yellows and oranges up here, and then she did the middle. So like the line work didn't hurt at all. Like, I mean, it was like a slightly like, it felt like someone was like dragging you, but it didn't feel more painful than just like if you kind of scratch your fingernail. But then once she went back over the areas that she'd already done, I was like, now it's time to take Helen up on her offer of playing some games on my phone to distract me from the pain. So that was nice. Thank you, Helen. I swiped up some basketballs and did some paintball on this like text app thing where you can send back and forth when it's someone else's turn. Anyway, yeah, and I Snapchatted it and did some things to distract myself. And then I was also laying, like, I had this, like, here, and then I had this leg laying on top of it. So I, like, this leg was, like, falling asleep, and so at first I was like, that's good. There's other sensations going on in my legs, so I can distract myself from this pain. But then it started getting annoying, so I resituated onto my side at that point. I don't know why that's an important detail. What I mean when I say it got more painful was like, it felt like the same sensation of like kind of the dragging around, except it felt like it was happening on top of like a sunburn or like a scrape or something, like when you skinned your knee. It was still like tolerable. Like, it didn't feel like it was going very deep, it just felt like it was like a skin level like soreness. It was more of a, the pain that was there was more of a sore pain than like a sharp pain, even though it was like happening with needles. My dad took pictures of it throughout the process so that I could see how far it was coming, so it was hard to like actually see from there. And then we were done. We looked at it and I was like, fabulous. She wrapped it up. It's like a little black wrap thing that like soaks up the plasma and the everything that oozes out of it. So I took that wrap off that night and washed it and put this like lotion stuff on it. And then now I just have to, while it heals for the next week or two, continue kind of washing it with gentle soap and putting some moisturizer on it until it heals. It's still kind of sore because it was really swollen last night. It feels very like firm, but it's getting better. It's only when like you touch it or like something touches it, and it's hard to figure out what to wear because like these pants, if they're like boot cut enough or whatever you call it, that it doesn't like rub it constantly, but when you're like walking around and it does rub you, you're like, ugh. It feels like a sunburn, which is what it's supposed to feel like and what they said it would feel like afterward. And yeah, so it still might get a little bit lighter with like some of the yellows because there's like some blood that needs to kind of clear. Yeah, and it'll kind of peel a little bit the next few days, or like kind of a light clear scabbiness. It's on its way, and I might have to do a touch-up. We'll see what it looks like when it's kind of where it'll end up. But yeah, that's my story. Isn't it beautiful? I'm so happy, you guys. I like looking at it in the camera because I barely ever get to see it from a distance. I only see it close up because like my face can only move so far away from my foot. Okay, well, thanks for watching. I just thought I would commemorate this event because it's kind of a big event. See you later. Goodbye.